this moment, the Marines in southern Afghanistan are using some of the most sophisticated weaponry known to hunt for Osama bin Laden and members of the al-Qaeda terror network. But before they left America, the Marines underwent rigorous training, including how to use mortar fire. Joining me to show us just how the Marines train for their mission in Afghanistan is Sergeant Larry Moore. He is at Camp Geiger in North Carolina, where he is an infantry instructor. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Well, first, if you can, tell me a little bit about what's going on behind you. How do you guys train? How do you train the folks behind you?
Well, what we have going on right now, ma'am, is nothing more than how the weapons would be displaced as if they had just been dropped into a combat scenario.
Can you show us a little bit about how that would be done?
Yes, ma'am. They will be either brought in, they can be brought in by helos, or naturally they can do the beach landing. And as they approach their specific position, what they'll do is they'll go ahead and they'll mount the mortar system together. It's basically nothing more than actually putting the weapon system together so it can be fired.
Also joining us here, we've had our retired United States Marine Corps Lieutenant General Bernard Trainer. What would you like to add to this about the kind of training? And we can see it there in the large monitor.
Well, these mortars, they're known as a battalion commander's artillery because he controls them. It's a high-angle thing. It's like a stovepipe. And you drop the round down the muzzle and it fires out, and it has a number of type of rounds. You can have smoke, you can have illumination if you have to fire it at night, high explosives, and you can even use chemicals with it. And you can see he's setting up that mortar right now, and it'll range out about 3 miles. And it's a marvelous offensive weapon if you're preparing a target that you want to attack, or in this instance at the airfield, an ideal defensive weapon. And these will be set up as you see the Marines doing it, and then they will register their fires, and so they have reference points to fire from if they come under attack.
Sergeant Moore, they're doing this pretty quickly, but it also looks fairly complicated. As weaponry training goes, how does this compare?
Ma'am, can you repeat that question one more time?
Yeah, how difficult is this compared to other weaponry in order to train them to be able to use it? Because it looks like it's somewhat complicated just to put everything together.
Yes, ma'am. This is one of the more complicated infantry weapons to actually assemble. They're doing it kind of quick today. They've been under 3 weeks of training thus far, and naturally they can get the weapon ready to fire within 35 to 40 seconds and can put rounds down range.
How long does infantry training last?
High explosive, quick.
They'll come here to the School of Infantry and they'll go through the basic 0311 package. That way they can all understand the basic infantryman skill, and then they'll break down into their MOS. And when they break down into their MOS, it's naturally 4 weeks. They get hands-on with both different types of mortar systems.
I hear them kind of yelling in the background. What is it exactly that they're doing?
What they're doing now is they are repeating all the fire commands that they're receiving from Sergeant Griffin. That's nothing more than to ensure that they understand the data and information that he's giving them, so there's no miscommunication on what deflection and scales to put on the weapon system.
General, how would these weapons be used in Afghanistan?
Well, let's take the current situation where the Marines landed at this airfield just below Kandahar, and they set up a defensive perimeter.
Now we can show them that again. Is that where we have it marked there?
Yes, just below Kandahar. There's where the Marines are at an airfield. And the first they do is set up security around the airfield, which includes the 81mm mortars. They would be positioned and ready to fire any type of weapon, any type of ammunition, high explosive, smoke, illumination, and they would be registered around the airfield in precise points, geographic positions, and these would be recorded so that if an attack came in, you can have a reference point, say from such and such a designated point, 500 meters to the right, 500 meters to the left, whatever it is, and then they put the fire on there. But they come in very quickly, and as the sergeant has said, they'll set up in 40 seconds after hitting the ground from helicopters, or if they come in on foot or come in by vehicle.
Another area of specialty, I guess you've got a brand new rocket launcher, Sergeant Moore, and I understand Staff Sergeant Rodney Bolton actually has a javelin system that he can show us, and as he does, can you explain it?
Yes, ma'am. Right now, Staff Sergeant Bolton has our newest system, and I'll turn that over to him and let him give you all the information you might need to know about that weapon system.
Staff Sergeant Bolton, can you hear us? I don't think he is wired. I don't think he can hear us. So Sergeant Moore, can you tell us a little bit? And feel free to jump in, General, if you'd like.
Battalion, you can engage armored vehicles at 1,000 meters. What you have here is the components to the Javelin, which is...
Looks like we've lost the sound.
Yeah, maybe you can narrate a little bit, General.
The Javelin is an anti-tank weapon, Chris, and it's also bunker buster. It'd be perfect for going against some of these caves. It's a fire and forget weapon. In other words, once you fire the thing, you don't have to guide it onto the target. You just fire it, and it'll go for the target. And it has a great, I think it's about a 2,500 meter range on it, and it can penetrate any known armor that in the world today, except our own.
Give us a little context. How, for example, would this be used in the search for Osama bin Laden?
Okay, if they find a cave complex and it's being defended, and they're behind a barricade inside of the tunnel, you can use this, fire right at it, and blows it apart.
Just like that?
That's right.
All right.
No matter what they put in front of it, the Javelin is probably going to be able to penetrate it.
Sergeant Moore, let me ask you finally, when all of these folks are finished with their infantry training, how many weapons will they be ready to take out, and will they be qualified to use? We have totally lost sound.
I think I explained that. What happens is when young Marines come in, they go through recruit training, which really isn't to train them to be infantrymen. It's to convert them from being a civilian into a Marine. That takes 12 weeks. Then they go on to infantry training. Every Marine goes through infantry training. And then those who are going to be assigned a military occupational specialty of infantry go into their specific training cycles for as a rifleman, as a machine gunner, or as a mortarman, or as a javelin operator. And then they get the specific training on those particular weapons. But they're cross-trained, they have familiarization of all weapons, and then specialized in one. And then after they finish their stint at the infantry training school, then they will go on out to the operating forces and put their learning to work.
Staff Sergeant Rodney Bolton's going to be, I guess, one of our men on the Javelin system. We want to thank him. Thanks to Sergeant Larry Moore, and our best to all the folks at Camp Geiger in North Carolina. And as always, as I hear the the pointer dropping down, Lieutenant General Bernard Traynor, thanks to you as well for helping us put all this in perspective. We appreciate it. And a major announcement in the War on Terror.